Hashem's Vasai Tiftach Upiagi Tilasacha. We're now in the 9th, the second to last Perek of Megillat Esther. And it happens to be that it's the 12th month, in the month of Adar, the 13th day, when the king's command was supposed to be enforced on a negative, and the Jews instead turned it around and prevailed, and they organized themselves, and they hit their enemy, and no one no one could stand before them. They were at the high of the high. The fear had fallen upon them. They were the chosen nation once again in full glory, and everything was going in the Jews' favor. And all the officials from all the governors and everyone respected. Minasimis HaYehudim. They are respecting the Jews. Ki nafal pachad Mordechai alehem. And who's at the head of all of it? Mordechai, the guy who is leading the pack, the light to the nations. And here we have exactly what it is that is going to be in the time of what? In the time of Mashiach. This is really, the Jews are living their best life. Ki gadol Mordechai bebeis hamelech v'sham'o holech b'chol medinos ki ha'ish Mordechai holech v'godel. And he is getting, Mordechai is even greater. And v'yaku haYehudim b'chol oivehem makas cherev v'hereg v'abdan v'yasu b'son'ehem kirtzonam. They are wiping out their enemy. They are slaughtering. Every time that they are fighting, they are successful. And what happens? B'Shushan Habira Hargo Yehudim va'abed 500 ish. And in Shushan, just the capital by itself, there they killed 500 men. And who are included? All of the Bnei Haman. Now, Haman had many children, as we've mentioned. These are the 10 sons of Haman that really got involved in the plots and the death and the devastation that would have come to the Jews. And but what happened? But you know what they didn't do? They didn't take any financial gain from this war. Why is it that they didn't take any financial gain from this war? We're living our best life. We're on top of the top. We're wiping out the competition, and we're not making one penny off of it. Why? What has it been that Jews, for time immemorial, have been accused of? That we are all about the money. We are the misers, we are the greedy, all of those that PR against the Jews. So what's happening now? Why else? Well, when it came to the huge miracle, the first miracle when we got into Eretz Yisrael was Yericho. And what happened when we got into Yericho? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, do not touch the spoils. This is a miraculous war. You're not going to benefit material-wise from it, and we didn't. And so here we're saying, Hashem, we recognize this is a huge miracle. We're going to designate this miracle the way that the other miracle was. We are going to show you that it's not about the money. And finally, again, this is the Nahafochu. This is where we are turning everything around, everything on its head. We don't care about the money. Yes, it could benefit us. We don't need it, and we're not taking it. And most concretely, we did not want to show Achashverosh, there's a lot of money involved because he was a greedy king, and one never knows with a fickle king, where the wind, the tide will turn. And so ultimately, we killed many people, and it was reported to the king, and the king, Vayomer Hamelech LaEsther Hamalka. Hargu Yehudim ve'abed 500 ish ve'aseres bnei Haman b'shar medinos hamelach. And so it seems like he's going to get upset. He's repeating what has just happened. They killed a lot of people, and the sons of Haman. And what does he do? And again, the tide turns. We are always getting the unexpected. We expected there to be anger, that there's, now the other shoe is going to drop. Because who is it? Who's the melech in this? This is really Kadosh Baruch Hu, and he's like, oh, you want more? I can give you more. But Tomer Esther, imala melech tov, yinatein ma, gam machar lehudim et b'shushan lasos kadas hayom, v'asaseres b'nei manisu ala es. What do we ask for? We ask for another day that they can be, that they can continue in the same way that they did. And so Shushan is given an extra day. And in that day, of course, Achashverosh says no problem, and that's exactly what happens. Haman's sons are hung, but they were already dead, so why are they hung? Because again, it's all about the PR. It's all about, you know what? You were going to do this to us. You are the epitome of evil in this world. You are going to now be the epitome of what happens to people who try to mess with the Tov and the Ra of the world. And Bahargu Shushan, and then they continue, and again, they didn't touch any of the spoils, and so the people of Shushan are given an extra day. And Shar Yerdim Asher B'Nis HaMelech Nikhalu Ba'amod Al Nafsham V'Nochach Ma'ivehem B'Harog V'Sonehem. And so ultimately, there are 75,000 enemies that died. We didn't touch the spoils, and what ultimately happens is that the Jews are able to defend themselves. They're able to be successful, and that's what they do. And the Jews in Shushan were able to keep the 13th day and the 14th day, and they gained relief on the 15th day, and that became a day of Mishteh and Simcha. So why is it that in terms of the days? So first of all, the people in that it's not just in Shushan, but all in the Hayoshrim Ba'arei HaPrazos, anyone that is in an open walled, open city. Osimis Yom Arba Asar Yom Lachodesh Adar Simcha Mishteh Yom Tov Mishlach Manos Ishrayu. They have an extra day. They were able to celebrate the 14th day of the month of Adar with gladness and feasting for 2 days. Now, why is it that they are not celebrating on the 13th day? Because the 13th day is a day of war. So shouldn't we commemorate the day of war because it was a successful war? So no, the whole idea of what we're celebrating and commemorating is the menucha, is the nochach, is the after fact, that we're then able to do what? We're able to be free to do simcha. And simcha and Yom Tov, Mishlach Manos, and the idea of the Shalach Manos is either the idea connected to the Seuda, that you're giving something to somebody else, because there's a Seuda involved, and we take the Seuda very seriously. There are certain days of the year that you always have to have a Seuda. That's Erev Yom Kippur, on Shabbos, on Shavuos, and on Purim, and because those are all the days that are connected to the simcha of the material and the Torah. Those are days that are related to the Torah. The second set of luchos of Erev Yom Kippur. Shabbos is when we got the Torah, and then obviously Shavuos is Shavuos, and here Purim is where they accepted the Torah once again. And so we have a Seuda to commemorate and to make sure that we highlight the idea of having this Seuda. But we also, all of what we're trying to accomplish is not war. We don't celebrate and acknowledge war. We celebrate and acknowledge after the war, the menucha, the bracha, the being able to be free, to be able to do what we want to do. And what does Mordechai do? He writes it all down, and he gives the sefer what happened near, what happened far. And it becomes that on the 14th and the 15th day, these are Jews' holiday, and kayimim asher nachu bahem miyudim ma'ivehem, and it is something, it's nehapach miyagon l'simcha me'evil l'yom tov la'asos asam yimesh mishteh v'simcha. Now we've come full circle. We've come to the fact, we started off where we were celebrating and recognizing times, but we were using everything for the negative, where we're using it just for the pleasure principle. Here we're using it lahodos, lahalal, lashabeach, to be thankful and to glorify HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that He is able to give us what we've asked for. And what is it that we've asked for? The freedom, first of all, our lives back, the physicality of our lives, that we were physically in danger. Unlike in Hanukkah, we were a spiritual danger. That's why there's no Seuda on Hanukkah. But here we have Mishloach Manos, again, something very physical, giving to one another, and we have the Seuda, which is something beautiful that we are able, and that's what the Bnei Israel, that's what the Jews do, and they undertake this as a reversal, because now they're in a different position. And who is the foil? Who is the negative? Haman ben Hamdasa Ha'agagi, Agag, Amalek, or if you think about it, it's Gog Umagog. What's the idea? We've mentioned in the past. What is the idea of the Gog, the Gog Umagog? That is the idea of the Ruth. The idea idea that we're limited, the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what we see is what we get. It's all part of nature. We're tangible. We create our reality. We do things in this world, and that's what impacts on this world. That is not the truth. We sit in the sukkah because to say we don't really have a roof. We're limitless. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is limitless. We have a potential and a trajectory of things that you go beyond what one would ever think in their head could possibly happen. That is the idea. And so we throw out the idea of the Agag, who's so rare, the limited, capped person, but rather we have the idea that we can go and exceed all expectations. And that's exactly what happens, and it gets written and it gets repeated. Al Kain Karu Hayamim Ha'ila Purim, and so we recognize that it's the holiday is called Purim. Why is it Purim? Because of the poor. Because that is exactly the antithesis of what we believe in. It is everything is Lamala Min HaTeva. Everything is created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything is can turn on its head in a dime, and there's nothing that is limited to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if we tap into that and we just believe with that and we go with that and we live our lives in accordance with the emunah that it's all about Hashem, and that when we tap into that frequency, it's inconceivable what we can achieve, the lives that we can have, and that we have to recognize. And we recognize that every year, B'chol Dor Vador, right? We have B'chol Dor Vador at the Seder. B'chol Dor Vador Chayav Adam L'Ros Etzmo Ki'ilu Yotzam Mitzrayim. Here, B'chol Dor Vador, Mishpacha, family and family, Medina, every year, every place. What should they recognize? They have to recognize that the Jews are the Jews, and we're remembered, and we're going to be forever. And it's important that we continue to talk about all the little details. It's interesting. It's always in the details. People get angry because of the details. Things our mood is shifted and created by the details that we give it. And it's very important to understand that all these little details, everything got foiled, from the date to the time to the intention to the tapestry and the beautiful way that each one is, everything leads to the next is the story of Purim. And so it's all in the details. So we repeat the details again about exactly what happened, about the 127 provinces, and about, what happened with Esther and establishing these days of Purim in recognition of the whole story of what happens. Mamar Esther Kim Divrei HaPurim Ha'ilon Nechtav B'Sefer. But ultimately it has to be Nechtav B'Sefer. It has to be written down. It has to be thought through. And that is, some say that, the source of why we should look in a siddur is that, the Sefer is the siddur. You shouldn't just, daven, looking around, but rather look at the exact words, because it's always in the words, and really understanding that this is a huge miracle. And so what we come in this very long Perek that kind of sums up and wraps up. The next Perek is very, very short. And so just to really understand that, until right at the end, it wasn't just that Hashem created a miracle for some people and they were saved, but those people, right? What did Shushan do? Shushan, that they were based in Gashmias. They were literally, they're the epitome of Galus. They turned it around. They recognized their error of their ways, and they sacrificed. They did what they needed to get back onto the right trajectory, to get into that level of Tov. And Esther and Mordechai, the epitome of self-sacrifice, again, doing everything l'shem shamayim, not for their own aggrandizement, really to fight that battle of Agag, the battle of being mean to one another, right? The mercilessness and the idea that it's all about me. It's me, my narcissistic quality, my tendencies, my things that I hold dear. It's all about my kavod. And so ultimately we see that there was an akama, there was a reversal, and that reversal led to action, because you can have the reversal feeling. Yes, even Haman and Achashverosh, at some part in the Megillah, they saw the light. They could have gotten upset, but they didn't get upset. They saw what needed to happen. But the fact is, they didn't do anything about it. It was fleeting. And then another thought, another eitzah, another piece of advice came and just kind of, shrugged off that one. But the Jews, what did they do? Kimu v'kiblu. They really took it on. They did action. They repeated this situation, but this time with the right actions. And when someone does that, when someone walks into the position that they were in before, and this time they do it correctly, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that, that's what I want. That's it. You got it. You showed me what I knew you had inside of you, and now I'm going to show you what you never dreamed was going to happen. And that's our inyan of a bechira, but that's also our inyan of emunah. And you see so beautifully, in almost a comic and makes you smile way, exactly what happened in the story of Esther, to highlight what Hashem wants from us and what we get in return.